Hello everyone and welcome back to all of our friends, and thank you so much for watching. To anyone who is watching for the first time, as always, likes, comments, subscribes, all of those things are very helpful. If you want to be super helpful and support what I do, then supporting me through my Patreon is the best way to do that. So let's get into it. Today we're talking about the limitations of academic philosophy, and in a lot of ways, academic philosophy is synonymous with Western philosophy. This is basically the pinnacle of Western philosophy. It's let's get to it. Let's get to the point. It's it's a valid way of knowing, but it's not the only way of knowing. Is the thesis that I'm going to try to explore with you here. And forgive me. I guess as always, possibly my thoughts are in a kind of, I don't know, wouldn't say larval stage, but they're not final. Although I do stand by what I say until someone convinces me otherwise. Academic philosophy in particular, it basically it only validates a very specific way of approaching knowledge and being and wisdom, and this is not to say that that's wrong. The point I'm trying to get across is that there are other ways of knowing, and I'm hoping that with the help of especially Bob Marley, or reggae in general, we'll be talking a little bit about Marley in particular today, and Eureka 7, I'm hoping that with those two, I don't know, I'll be able to kind of point people in the direction of what it is that I'm trying to express. And so I chose Star Trek as kind of the representative of academic philosophy in this particular situation. And the thing is, for anyone who knows me, I'm a huge fan of Star Trek. I'm a very I love the world that is created. I think there's a lot of hope and faith in what humanity can potentially become that's expressed in the world of Star Trek. One point I will make, and I like to bring this into every Star Trek conversation, is that Star Trek is a post-dystopian world. Basically, World War III does happen because, people don't wise up soon enough. And then after that, basically, we're saved by white people again. And white North American in particular, Western thought and culture, like pulls us out of the depths of our misery, and saves us from the new dark age that we've created for ourselves. They do this with the help of the Vulcans, who can be seen potentially as a sort of I don't know, representative of certain Eastern values, but in a lot of ways they, to me, are just kind of hyper stoics, which is just another kind of Western way of approaching the world. But anyway, somehow or other, we get past our dystopian phase, and then, for some reason, the fundamental values and the way the world is structured are still super, super white, super, super Western, as in like Greek philosophy, and very much American, like very much North American, and United States is North America basically in this situation. It's not about Canada. And yeah, I mean, it's a little funny to me, but I will say that it's an example of the best aspects of philosophy and of those ways of thinking. And that's part of why I thought it was important to bring it into this conversation. Like, there's so much good there. I love watching Star Trek because it's refreshing to me. It's like, oh my gosh, there are people who actually care and think about these things, and in these ways. and it's wonderful. It's refreshing every time. I've been rewatching Star Trek Voyager, actually, which is not my favorite one, but has some good moments. Now, I guess I think Eureka 7 will be a good bridge, and I think I very much encourage everyone to watch Eureka 7. It's a wonderful anime, and it basically the world is on the brink of collapse and ruin, and there are actually different groups that come together with different ways of thinking about these things. One is a very scientific methodical approach to things, which I would say is in the vein of Star Trek and Western thinking. In my opinion, Western philosophy is a very, very scientific process. It's driven fundamentally by reason and logic, which I don't discount and I do value. It's just that I put them in quotes because logic and reason are very specific things in that context, and the way that you go about reasoning is a very scientific process. Again, not a bad thing, just not the only way of thinking about things. And especially in terms of philosophy, I don't think it's the only valid way. Now, Eureka 7, a few different groups of people with different ways of approaching life and approaching the world come together, and it's in their coming together that they find the wisdom and the answers that they need in order to potentially save the world. I do hope you watch it. It's a wonderful thing. Wonderful anime. Now, yeah. Yeah, academic philosophy frustrates me in some ways, but Bucky's here and says hello. I will say that philosophy is wonderful, and there's also a certain hubris to it. You can become a doctor in basically one of two ways, right? You can become a medical doctor, someone who has the skills to heal people's bodies, right? Or you can become an academic doctor. And the cool thing about becoming an academic doctor is that it kind of in a very direct and explicit way just validates the supremacy of philosophy. It's basically all roads lead to philosophy, whether you want it to or not. To become a doctor with a PhD, PhD means you've become a doctor of philosophy in your particular area. That's what your degree will say. And it's just really cool. I mean, this is not just a Western philosophy thought, but it's, all roads lead to wisdom. Whatever particular area you decide to study, the culmination of that study, ideally, is wisdom. And wisdom is not something that's just applied to one area of one's life and one area of reality. So here's kind of the other end that I want to connect to things, which is reggae and traditions like reggae, traditions that are not academic and not written down, not scrutinized in a scientific way, and so. We're going to talk about Bob Marley because I think that's the easiest for most people to access. I think Bob Marley usually conjures images of of pacifism, I think, for most mainstream people. Just everybody loving each other and, just smoking weed and it'll be fine, right? And that's not really what reggae is all about. And it's not even what most of Bob Marley's music was about. The big ones, the super heavy big hits, definitely have that message, contain those kinds of messages. At the same time, Bob Marley was definitely an extremely deep thinker. He was a philosopher. He was also a mystic and a prophet in a lot of ways, in terms of actually thinking about the future and trying to share the fruits of his wisdom with other people. yeah, there are ways of living and knowing, and ways of being, ways of practicing philosophy that are not that are not validated by academia. And reggae, the Rastafarian traditions that inspire a lot of reggae music are very much not in line with those things. And I guess this is kind of part of where I get frustrated. I have friends who are very deep in academia, and they'll kind of encourage. Well, not these days, but I've been encouraged many times in my life to become a professor, to go the route of an academic philosopher. And the thing is, to to do that would require me to limit the ways of I approach knowledge, approach wisdom. Like to become a PhD, to get your doctorate, you have to be validated by people who currently have doctorates. And whatever the case is, you have to present your research. You have to present your not the whatever it is that you've uncovered in a particular fashion. Like there's no getting around that. So I could go that route and try to bring my fruits and try to explain them in ways that are valid in that context. But it's not what feels right. I think that there are many ways of knowing that have been around far longer than our academic institutions that are worthy of being validated. And I hope with my life and my experiences to add some validity to them. Yeah, I think that's where we'll stop today. Thank you so much for watching and listening. I hope it wasn't too rambly, but anyway, please feel free to like, subscribe, comment, share, and if you really want to support, you can find my Patreon and show some love. Thank you so much. Peace.